Hey there. If you're watching this, you're probably a smart person. You likely know what you should do to reach your goals, but for some reason, you just can't seem to do it. Maybe you've watched motivational videos, you've tried productivity tips, or used willpower tricks, but you're still stuck in the same old habits. Here's something important that most people don't tell you. Your brain is actually built to keep you exactly where you are. It does this through something we can call identity comfort. In the next few minutes, I'll explain why typical motivation advice doesn't work well for smart people, and I'll share a surprising method that does work. You might think being smart would make it easier to get motivated, but here's a tricky part that nobody talks about. Your intelligence, the very thing you've used your whole life, can actually be what's holding you back. It keeps you stuck in patterns you can't break. Smart people face special problems that people who don't overthink things usually don't have. And these problems are hard to see because they look like strengths. Here's the strange truth. Smart people often become their own biggest obstacle when it comes to taking action. You can see every possible result, every possible problem, every way things could go wrong. While others might just jump in with simple confidence, you get frozen by all the things you're thinking about. You've trained your brain to analyze everything, to think carefully before acting. Now, that same powerful thinking stops you. It creates something called analysis paralysis. You get stuck planning forever and never actually start. Your brain thinks of many different situations before you even take one small step. You notice the difficult details and complex parts that others miss. This isn't a bad thing about you. It's just how your smart brain works. But here's what happens. While you're busy planning the perfect path to success, others who think less are already taking action. They are learning by doing, and they are making progress you could have made months ago. Your intelligence creates these unique walls that others don't have. When someone who doesn't think too deeply has a problem, they try one solution, then another. They learn by trying, and sometimes failing, without getting stuck overthinking. But you can think about hundreds of possible ways to do something in your head. And thinking about these possibilities feels so real that your brain acts like you've actually experienced them. You've already felt the failure in your mind, so your body reacts as if you've truly failed. Studies show that smart people's brains are even better at keeping things the same. Your brain has built a strong idea of who you are, including what you can and cannot do. These ideas about yourself feel completely true and are hard to change. If you even think about doing something different, something outside your usual way of being, your body gets stressed. This stress tries to pull you back to what feels familiar and safe. Your brain sees your current identity, who you are right now, as important for survival, even if it stops you from doing more. This is because your brain has put a lot of energy into keeping you consistent with how you've been in the past. Changing means admitting that the old you wasn't complete or maybe even wrong, and that feels uncomfortable to your sense of self. The smarter you are, the better your brain is at finding clever-sounding reasons why you can't change or don't need to. Here's the difficult truth. Your intelligence is being used against your own progress. You use your smart thinking to build very strong arguments for why you can't change, why it's not the right time, or why your situation is specially difficult. You create ideas in your head that make not acting seem smart and careful. Other people might just push through their doubts, but you've used your thinking to cleverly stop yourself. Regular motivation advice doesn't work because it completely ignores this main problem. Motivational speakers tell you to believe in yourself, to push past feeling uncomfortable, to imagine success. But when your own intelligence is trapping you, these simple ideas feel empty and don't help. You've already thought about why positive thinking isn't enough, why just imagining things isn't real action, and why most success tips seem too simple for a smart person like you. The big realization comes when you understand that motivation isn't something you have to find or force yourself to create using willpower or inspiration. Motivation happens naturally when you remove the right things that are blocking you. It's not about trying harder or finding better plans. It's about finding and taking apart the specific ideas in your head that are keeping you stuck. Your motivation problem was never because you didn't want things or weren't ambitious enough. You have plenty of drive. The problem is that your intelligence has created hidden walls that make it feel impossible to reach that drive. These walls are at a deep level. They are about your deepest beliefs about who you are and what you can do. Until you deal with these directly, all the productivity tricks and motivation tips in the world won't help at all. This brings us to understanding exactly what keeps you trapped and the precise way to break free. What if I told you the solution isn't doing more, but actually taking away parts of who you think you are? Everything you've been taught about changing yourself is the opposite of what you need. You don't need more good habits, more systems, or more willpower. You need less of the ideas about yourself that trap you, less of the thoughts that make excuses, less of the clever stories you tell yourself about why changing is impossible. Real change happens by removing things, not adding them. Right now, your brain has paths that automatically turn on when you think about taking action. These paths carry the feeling of your past problems, your doubts, and the reasons you've carefully built to stay safe. Every time you think about doing something different, these paths light up, bringing back familiar thoughts that pull you back to what you know. Trying to build new habits while these old paths are strong is like trying to fill a bucket with holes in the bottom. Thinking that you need to build new habits or find more willpower is exactly what keeps you stuck. You've been trying to add good things on top of a base that is built to stop change. This might work for people whose brains aren't as complex, but your brain has built clever ways to stop simple changes. You need a totally different way. Creating an identity vacuum forces your brain to create new ways of acting. When you smartly remove old ideas about yourself that limit you, you make empty space in your brain's structure. Like an empty space that needs to be filled, your brain will naturally make new ways of acting to fill this space. The trick is guiding what fills that space by removing the right old ideas in the right order. The process to reset your identity has 3 specific steps. First, find the old ideas about yourself that cause you to resist action. This method changes your brain paths by weakening old connections, not fighting them directly. When you try to force yourself to change using willpower, you're actually making the old idea and the resistance to it stronger. It's like trying to make 2 muscles stronger at the same time by pushing against yourself. Removing strategically works differently. You stop giving attention and energy to the limiting ideas, which makes them get weaker over time because your brain can change. This is called neuroplasticity. When you stop focusing on them, these old paths slowly disappear, making room for new paths to form. Change happens in a predictable way. In the first week, you'll feel a bit uncomfortable as your brain notices that the familiar ways of thinking are missing. This discomfort might feel stronger in the second week, as your body looks for the old patterns. By the third week, new ways of acting will start appearing to fill the empty space. Most people feel the first real surge of motivation between weeks 3 and 4. It usually takes 6 to 8 weeks for the change to feel completely normal and part of who you are. Your brain will push back during this process, and this resistance is actually a good sign. When you feel nervous about letting go of old ideas about yourself, when you find yourself making excuses to keep them, when you feel the urge to go back to your old ways of thinking, this means your body is reacting to the feeling of change being a danger. This uncomfortable feeling signals that the process is working. Your brain sees changing your identity as a threat, so feeling resistance shows you are targeting the right things. This method creates lasting motivation by deeply changing who you are. Normal motivation methods need you to keep working at them constantly, because they only deal with the surface while your deep identity stays the same. Smart removing goes deep, to where your actions really start. When you remove old ideas about yourself and allow new ones to appear, motivation happens automatically because it fits with your new sense of self. This works because it deals with the specific way smart brains stop change. Instead of trying to overpower your analytical nature, you use that skill smartly to find and remove the exact ideas that are holding you back. You're not fighting your intelligence. You're guiding it towards the exact thing that will help you break free. Now you understand the method. The next step is knowing exactly which old ideas about yourself to focus on first. Your motivation problem was never about not having drive. It was about carrying an identity that made motivation feel impossible. You had the ambition all along, but your brain paths were built to resist the very changes you wanted to make. The sophisticated, analytical ways of thinking that helped you in other areas became the thing trapping you in familiar behaviors. Right now, think of one limiting idea about yourself you can start removing today. Maybe it's, I'm someone who needs perfect conditions to begin, or I'm the type of person who researches everything before acting. Choose one idea and stop giving it your attention completely. Within weeks of smartly removing these ideas, you'll feel motivation happen naturally because of your new identity, rather than feeling like something you have to force yourself to do.
Hope you learned something new in this video. To keep improving your skills and get more tips like these, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. What do you want to see next? Let me know below.